Char Margolis, Char Communications Incorporated, and CharVision LLC do not endorse or offer for any purpose but entertainment the views of any guest or other expert on CharVision or UBN.
I knew things before they happened from the time I was a child. At the age of 8, I saw a spirit at the foot of my bed and didn't know what it was. And in my 20s, I finally realized I had a special ability that could help others. I have learned that love never dies. There is a spirit world that can communicate with us, and we all have the gift of intuition. Join me, and together we will explore the possibilities of the unknown from beyond and more. This is CharVision. Oh, I don't even know where to start. When I was 8 years old, I saw a spirit at the foot of my bed, and I did not know what it was. Now, fortunately, our house was not haunted, although there are some places that are haunted. And I remember doing a thing for INLA many years ago, and I went to the Queen Mary, and people were seeing spirits who were not even psychics. I mean, somebody was like an accountant, and she saw a spirit, and I saw the same thing she saw. And at that time, I said, there's somebody was killed in the boiler room, and his name's John. And at that same time, they looked up in the archives, because we didn't have Google then. We didn't have internet then. And there was indeed an engineer named John who was smashed by doors in that room. So anyway, you know, how do we know the difference between spirits communicating with us, our loved ones? How do we know if a house is haunted? I mean, there's so many questions we all want to know and need to know. And today I have a distinguished guest. His name is Dr. Let me get this right, Giagnoli, Dr. Giagnoli. And I'm thrilled to have you here. And we have another guest too coming up after who has a haunted house. So this is all really exciting to learn about. So could you tell me a little bit about you and where do you get a parapsychology degree?
There's now only like a handful of universities that actually offer the PhD program for parapsychology. I got mine at Progressive Universal Life Church, which is located in New York City. Mm-hmm. I was originally, before I left high school, I was looking at USC because they offered a program, but unfortunately they didn't offer the program anymore by the time I graduated. So yeah, I know Penn State also has a program, and there's like 3 other ones, which I don't know off the top of my head right now, but that actually offer programs in parapsychology in that area, like metaphysics and stuff.
And you're a detective, right? So you go into people's homes, and do you use the special equipment and everything to find the spirits? What do you do?
Yeah. We well, I like to say we use kind of both sides, the spiritual side as well as the scientific side, to investigate the paranormal. My brother is a medium, and he's the medium for my organization,
right,
which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we, offer our services free of charge to help people in need that are experiencing, distress with something that may be, paranormal.
And has there ever been a spirit that you cannot get rid of who's annoying?
A lot of the time, I'd say a good majority of our clients just want validation that they're experiencing something, and most of the time we can offer them that. We come in and experience what they experience. Sometimes we catch evidence, whether it be through the equipment we have, audio, video, stuff like that. So,
well, I've been doing my work for over 40 years, and the one thing that I have learned, and it's not a great thing to learn, but that there's also a dark side on the other side. There's good and there's evil.
Yeah.
So do you have ways of protecting yourselves so nothing can get to your brother who's the medium, and nothing can cause chaos or havoc in your life?
Yeah, we do actually. And there's kind of a couple things. One, I've been told by other spiritual people that I have some authority on the other side, so I rarely get messed with when I go out. Mm-hmm, but my wife is Native American, so we use a lot of traditional Native American protections like ghost beads and different things with us to help keep our energies up and make sure we're protected in case something more malevolent or negative might be out there when we go to investigate.
Wow. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to seeing some of your work on tape. When will you send me some?
Sure.
I'd love to
I'll send you links. We actually do a web series on YouTube where we invite people to go along on our investigations. So.
Okay, that's great, because also I have people who come to me who want me to go and find out what's in their home, and I'm sometimes just too busy and I just can't go to people's homes, and so there you go. So it's great to know you. Now, we have somebody, another guest. Her name is ZOE MOON, and she has a spirit in her home. Now, she feels her home is haunted. Now, Zoe is also an astrologer. And Zoe, can you hear me?
I can.
Well,
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us and being here. Where do you live?
I'm in Ohio.
Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, did you ever not want to leave
Well, that's
Ohio?
part of the story. I mean, I lived in California most of my adult life, but my mother took ill, my father died, my grandfather died, and so I moved back here and have been helping take care of her, and I ended up buying the house next door to her,
Okay,
which would
first
not
of
have
all,
been
you
my
are
house, you know.
you are a wonderful lady and a good heart and a sweetheart to go
thank
take
you.
care of your mama. I already like you.
Well, I love her, so it was a
Aw.
no-brainer for me.
And
But
and
yeah,
and so do you now is oh wait, you bought the house next door. So whose house is haunted? Your mother's house or your house?
my house.
Your house.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to
unfortunately.
so you want to tell us what goes bump in the night?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much, but we got this house about a year and a half ago. The house was built in 1860.
Who's
My
we?
my fiance and I, he lives here with me.
Okay.
Okay, so well, I mean, it's my house, but yeah, we're moving down that road.
Okay, but
Um,
but you know that when you work with energy, it's like it doesn't matter who owns the house. It depends on what energy is in the house, living and deceased. So
Exactly. And I
okay,
mean, really, I chose the house just because it was right here next to her so that I could be right here with her.
really sweet.
And, you know, the house was built in 1860. I have researched it since all this crazy stuff has happened, and there were 6 different deaths in this house. The person who lived here before me well, I mean, it was a young couple with a daughter, and he died at age 28 in the house. Before that, a little girl at age 6 choked to death in the house. It goes back and back and back. I mean, there's been a lot of deaths in this house.
Did
And
you know this when you bought it?
no. Well, that's not true. I knew about the last guy because I had kind of been around when stuff happened. And so, I mean, I thought it was tragic, but I didn't think, a lot more about it than that. But yeah,
Okay, have you done any traditional stuff like sage it or
yeah,
you know
well,
like kosher salt in the corners or
yeah, recently because we gutted the house. I mean, and it was when we started remodeling that the crazy stuff really started happening. But I had to stay the nights at my mother's house next door because of the stuff she was going through with her illness. And, so I wasn't here all the time, and I was really afraid to start that process because I wasn't certain if this was just, something still attached to the house or something of more of a malevolent, level because of so many deaths here. And I didn't want to start something where I wasn't here all the time, to like finish it or be here and be aware of what was happening. I didn't want to stir something up. So recently, a couple months ago, we actually did like a 2-hour saging from the basement, every nook and cranny, all the way through the attic. And it did settle down quite a bit, but then in the last couple weeks, we started working on the upstairs bathroom, and we started having more stuff. So it's yeah. I mean, the first thing do you want me to tell you what happened when we
well,
first
it's
moved
up
in
to
here?
Dr. Giagnoli. What would you like her to tell you?
I mean,
Everything?
yeah, I mean, it's great to have
Everything.
all
Yeah,
the
because
information
his
then we
psychic person is not here today, his brother. So tell us.
Okay. Okay. When we first moved in, we had been here a few months and we started to gut the kitchen. And, so everything in that kitchen was completely, I sent a couple pictures to show how torn up that was. And we had put a piece of plastic across the doorway from the kitchen into the rest of the house so that all that dust didn't come into the house. Well, James and I had been out running around and oh no, wait, that was the second time. The first time we had left in the morning. I had gone next door to do astrology readings, and I was next door all day, and
Okay, so
James
you're an
went to work.
astrologer, so you
Yes.
understand energy and stuff.
Yes, I do. It's like the conundrum I'm in here. And so when he came home from work, he called me next door and he's like, "Were you over at the house today?" And I said, "No, I just got done." And he goes, "Get over here." And I came over, and the plastic had literally been ripped from the floor all the way up to about, I'd say probably 6 foot tall, like someone had moved through it. And it had also, there was a place where it looked like first, before they ripped through it, they had pushed their hand against it. And you can see how the plastic thinned out. You can see the formation of 3 fingers.
Can you see those
And
pictures?
Yeah, and I saw them earlier too. So I'm
Yeah,
familiar with them.
and then it started, and it was kind of torn down and hanging on one side. Well, when we first got the house, we had it all re-dead bolted, and there was only two sets of keys. We both had them, so we were, so we called the police. An officer came out, went through the entire house, top to bottom, with the gun, looking for an intruder, and really came down and said, it doesn't fit the profile. Either it should have been vandalized or a theft or somebody that you knew, kind of had a key and got in or something, and none of this happened. So if I were you, I'd call a paranormal society, which I, was like, are you really telling me this? And I said, okay. So she walked the house with us so that we could deadbolt the house and all leave together, because at that time my mother had just been transferred from the hospital into a rehabilitation center. So we were going to go over and visit her. So we all walked out the front door together, the policeman and me and James, and went over and visited her. And when we came back, I went into my mother's house to write about it on Facebook and tell everybody what had happened. He came over here and he called me and he said, don't come over here. The police are on their way back. And the side door was standing wide open.
Like it just was, it blew wide open.
It was deadbolted shut. We all walked through the house and deadbolted the house shut before we left. The police was with us when we did that. So when we came back, that side door was standing wide open. Well, he and I have the only keys to this house. I mean, we changed all the locks when we got the house. So
I don't think you better tell us your address in case you ever want to sell that house, because you'll never
I
sell
know.
it.
I know. I'll disclose. I will be honest. I'll tell somebody what happened here.
You'd be surprised how many people actually would like to live in a haunted house, because there are people who
really
want
okay. So what do you
stuff.
say? What do you say about all
I
this?
mean, it's really interesting. I think it's really funny how the police officer actually gave the information to go look for like a paranormal society or something, because if you look a few years back, you probably wouldn't have that happening. But it's so mainstream now that even, I think people are familiar with the signs now so much
true.
that they're like, oh, well, you should just go look at this. That'd be better for you in this situation.
Well, what do you think is causing this spirit in her house? Do you think it's because somebody's earthbound? Do you think it's because there's some kind of wacky energy that caused somebody to die in that house? I mean, what is it?
I mean, it could really be a mixture of things. I always like to say this is a theoretical field. We have a lot of good ideas from the evidence and the studying we've done of it,
Right.
to say it could be this, this, and that. First of all, because there was so much tragedy on that location in general, it makes me wonder if there's maybe some energy around that might, maybe contribute to that kind of, stuff happening. And then you have the fact that you can tie it indirectly to the construction they were doing, which is a common thing that happens a lot of the time we run into.
Why?
If there is potentially an earthbound spirit who, may like the location, like an object, be attached somehow.
So if
and
you're doing
messing with like what they're familiar with, like any of us, a lot of humans fear change. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. We like things a certain way. So if you disturb that kind of energy where it's like the sameness that we enjoy, sometimes it can rile up the spirits if they're there.
Because it doesn't like the way it's being decorated?
Exactly. Yeah, it's familiar with, I like things this way. Especially if you really look at like
So a
mentalities.
controlling weird spirit is trying to control their lives. That
Possibly.
deadbolt thing is really scary.
That's definitely interesting.
Girl,
yeah.
that's just like a small part of it. I mean,
Well,
the
tell
cops,
us another part of it.
well, the cops came back out. This time, two of them, guns drawn, made us leave the house, and they went through the whole thing again. And this time, this big beefy guy cop, he's like, yeah, never believed in this stuff, but in these really super old houses, a year ago, me and my partner saw something move from one side of the house to the other, and there was no way it could have happened. And I think you should call a priest or a paranormal society. And so, that happened. Then we continued construction. They started to take down the lab and plaster, the really old style, so it's really hard to get through. Around that door and to the left and above, there was a piece of a little girl's dress jammed behind the lab and plaster. There was no way to get there unless they put it there. It looked like it had blood or rust on it. I was going to have it tested, but James kind of freaked out about it and got rid of it and told the spirit.
See, I think, I think your instincts are right. I think you should have tested it.
Yeah.
And even a lot of the times what we suggest when you find stuff like that too is not simply dispose of it, but I always say I humanize the experience with the paranormal, and we try to treat it like with respect. So just to get rid of it, sometimes it's better to maybe say a little something, maybe rebury it somewhere else and kind of say a little something to help keep things calm, because sometimes when you get rid of objects like that, it can potentially stir up more activity, which we've seen before.
I was worried about that.
Do you feel like somebody was abused in this home?
Are you asking me?
Both of you.
Since that happened, my niece, who was 13 last year, she came into my house and was looking around and went next door, and we were all hanging out. And then she pulls me aside and she goes, "Can I tell you this?" And I feel weird telling you. And I'm like, "Yeah, what?" And because I have furniture in here now. And she said she was looking at this big cupboard, which I think I sent you guys some pictures of that. And she said she was looking at the books in the cupboard, and all of a sudden the face of a little girl was looking back at her through the glass of that cupboard. And I'm like, oh my God, did it look like, did it, was it at your height? No, she was smaller, and she just kept staring at me. And she said she didn't feel scared, but she left and, felt really weird about it. And I've had, James has had different workers in here helping him. Several of them have heard the voice of somebody talking. They said they thought, at least on 2 occasions, that it mimicked my voice, like I was in the front room and they started talking to me, but I wasn't on the property. And a couple of the workers won't come back. I mean, they were literally.
So see, in my work, I feel this is dangerous. I personally really do. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, you always want to proceed with caution, and we always suggest that. And another thing I was going to actually bring up, since we were discussing everything, is talking about the area. Like, maybe have you done any of the history on the property or anything? Because we found a lot of Native American ties in general, even just in California, where like the land was sacred land at one point. It used to be burial grounds, things like that, or even people messing with stuff in that property before you lived there. People mess with Ouija boards or witchcraft or voodoo or anything like that. It can stir up
because
energies and stuff.
that can bring dark.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you never
do
know
not play with the Ouija board. It is bad. It is not good. Seances, tipping tables, none of that is good. It really brings low level energy in.
Yeah. Exactly.
And okay, so did you demand it to go away? Zoe?
I definitely did. I told it in the name of the higher power to go towards the light, and that this was our home now and that it needed to move on. And honestly, it felt like it was very clear for a couple months. And now that the renovation has started again, like about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, James comes upstairs and he's like, "Oh my gosh, every single time I walk through the middle room of the house, I can hear a woman's voice talking."
Well, it sounds to me like there were 2 spirits there. More than
one.
Yeah,
I think there's more than one.
And it sounds like the little girl's asking for help, but it also sounds like she's asking for help because there's something dark in there that needs to go away. When you demanded that energy to go away, what did you say? What did you do?
I was, from my own personal point of view with this stuff, I was saying in the name of Jesus Christ that it needed to move on and move to the light, that there was love and acceptance for it on the other side, and that, it was upsetting us here and it needed to go, and that I was not going to allow it to stay here anymore. I think one of the spirits, and I'm not trained in this part of things, but I feel like one of the spirits may be the actual builder of this house back in 1860, a man, and that he may be the one that has the tie into some of the darker things that are going on, maybe kind of collecting some of these other spirits that are here around him for some reason. But that's just my impression.
Yeah.
Well, you can never doubt your own intuition and your own instincts. And the thing that is so lovely is that your niece was so pure and innocent about the whole thing. It's not like she was looking to, get attention. She was really feeling something. So what do you suggest she do?
I mean, it depends. If it's something that bothers you, you can always look into different resources and ways, which it sounds like you've already found a lot of different ways to kind of deal with it. And sometimes a mixture of things helps. Sometimes, people look to other things, depending if you're religious. Some people will go to their church and ask for help in that way. Like I said, there's lots of different methods depending on what you want accomplished.
Do you think that spirit could just be earthbound and never has gone to the white light? and is just hanging out there. You know, there are spirits that are earthbound that never go to the white light. Then there are spirits who go to the white light and come back and visit.
Yeah. And then also we've encountered where, my brother being the medium, like I mentioned earlier, where sometimes those negative spirits and energies can actually block them from like escaping areas and stuff. So sometimes you have to get rid of that darker energy first in order for the lighter energy to be able to kind of escape as well.
That's what I'm thinking. That there's
That's what I think too.
Yeah, there's definitely a dark thing there that either you demand it to go and do see, I believe that when we sage our own homes, we have the ability to really get rid of things because it's our home and we have to take ownership and power of that energy of that place.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. Number two, I know that there are some priests in Chicago, I think it is, in one of the dioceses that do exorcisms where they literally, get rid of the demonic negative stuff.
Yeah, and they're located all over, really, if you do the right research. I have a lot of colleagues in the field that I work with.
Do you know anyone in Ohio?
Contacts. Not in Ohio, but I could definitely find out.
Well,
somebody
Ohio's
who's
near
out there.
Indiana and Michigan, and if you can find somebody to help Zoe, because my gut feeling is that especially if you're doing healing work and you're doing astrology, you don't want something trying to get in the way of your healing work.
Right. I feel like it doesn't really mess with me. I don't think it wants to take me on, to be honest with you. But everybody else hears it, and everybody else, the only thing I ever experienced, I had one night when I had James and my friend from LA was here visiting, and we were sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden this orb, like bright, very bright, up in the corner of the room, I started to see it. And they were talking, and I started to open my mouth to go, there's something in the room. And right as I started to say that, it zipped straight across the room and went into my cabinet that has a lot of glass in it. And it lifted up a lid that had it was a glass lid with a head on it, lifted it straight up and dropped it down 3 shelves. Both James and Angela jumped out of their chair. He threw his arm, grabbed open the door and grabbed it as it almost hit the bottom of the thing. She ran out of the house and said she didn't want to come back.
It sounds like there's an angry spirit there. And I personally experienced when I had my shows in the Netherlands, it was right after Pim Fortuyn was assassinated, and it was the first time they had an assassination like that. And I had his brother on, and I was reading for his brother. And while we were sitting there, my set had bookshelves, and while we were sitting there, something flew off the shelf and broke. I mean, in front of our eyes. So, because he was angry that he was assassinated, and it sounds to me like there's an angry spirit here. And if you could maybe get in touch with Zoe and find somebody that can help her clean this place, I think it's a great idea.
If that's the resolution, of course. Yeah, that's what I exist for, to help people out. So
that's so nice. And the other thing that I suggest to all my clients, every time I do a reading, I say a prayer protection. It's important for all of us to stay in a white light. All of us.
Yes.
And more than one time a day. If you're feeling negative, you're feeling fearful, you're feeling weird, imagine you're lit up like the sun, and you're so bright that if anyone were to look at you, their eyes would hurt, and you take those lights and you swirl them around like a tornado or a hurricane, and you demand anything negative to go back to where it came from, or destroy it. Just destroy it. Take power. Take your own power back, because you don't need this, and neither does James.
Yeah, I agree. And he actually seems to have he hears it. It messes with him way more than it does me.
Well, I kind of feel like he might be your weak link.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because he's like a man's man. I mean, he just yells at it, and he thinks he should be able to protect me and punch it out the door, and he can't. So it's quite interesting,
that's not
to
going to happen.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I believe there is interplay between the physical and the spiritual world, definitely. But I mean, certain ways aren't going to work.
But that would make sense if there's the testosterone male, if you think it's the male that built the house and then there's another male in the house, and maybe there's some kind of, competition or rivalry. Could be.
Yeah.
But this is an earthbound spirit that needs to go. So I wish you really well with this. And can you give her any other suggestions or?
I mean, I think you gave a lot of the great suggestions, which is it's about ownership and empowering yourself when it comes to this stuff. Because, I mean, it's rare that I come across really extreme stuff like people actually being possessed and everything. They're rare cases because it usually takes someone that has something really like bothering them that makes them kind of weak in order to be exposed that way.
Do you think that Hollywood has like exploited the spirit world and what goes on in the spirit world?
Most definitely, I think it has. It gives the wrong impression of what it is. Same thing.
Right.
I think reality TV does the same thing and disservice to the field itself.
Well, that's because media likes to exploit things.
Yeah. And they build things up. They over-exaggerate things. They start with the base of like a true story, and then they add things on and expand.
They embellish it.
Yeah, make it more tantalizing and entertaining rather than, breaking it down to the roots of the truth of what happened. So most people have, when they experience the paranormal, have the wrong impression that it's all demons, it's all evil, because that's what Hollywood pretty much presents. So there's definitely kind of a wrong impression.
That's one reason I wanted to do this webcast, because most other shows that I've been asked to do with television, not in the Netherlands, but they wanted to exploit everything.
Yeah, same with me. I've been in lots of meetings to do potential reality shows and stuff. And I mean, they sat us down and got down to the brass tacks where they were like, you guys know reality TV is not reality. We're going to tell you what to do, how to do it, the way to do it. We're not going to script anything. We might script some stuff. Which two of you guys can fight, like with each other. And just like all this big built up story. And it was like, so we started doing our own web series because we were just tired of all the games. So we,
Well, would you be open to helping us if we have any callers or people? Would you be open to coming back and helping other people who have this situation?
Of course, definitely.
That would be great. Do you know a good priest that does exorcisms?
I actually just got in touch with a colleague of mine who has, I forget the website right now, but it's something, I don't remember, it's Order of Exorcist.weebly.com, which is a really reputable group that they have exorcists basically all over.
Is it on your website? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's www.paranormaldetectives.org, and we have our email, phone number, all that stuff if you need to contact us in any way, and we can, help you out.
Well, Dr. Giagnoli, you've been very helpful. I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry he hurt his ankle and he came here anyway, which I really appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
And Zoe, you're just a doll, and I really feel like you're going to be able to get rid of this stuff.
Thank you. We're working on it.
It feels like some of it's like it's more than one thing. It feels like some of it's poltergeist, some of it's poltergeist is like just spirits that like to play tricks and fool people. But then I really think there's an angry somebody in there, and anyway, for everybody at home, just know, like, you may feel there's a spirit in your house, and your spouse or somebody else may think you're crazy, but it really could be. So you don't want to ignore it, because if you put your head in the sand, then they'll have more power to do things. But you can demand it to go away. And I know for a fact we all have the power. No one and nothing can have power over us unless we give it to them.
Exactly.
Not a spirit, not a person, not anybody. So demand it to go away, get sage and sage your home, and just say, go away, you're not welcome here, and destroy that energy. Well, I appreciate you being here, and Zoe, thank you so much. And this is Sonny, by the way. I never even introduced him, which was really rude of me. But the thing about Sonny is that when there's a spirit, he'll look up in the corner, and he'll see it before I even see it. So
yeah, I was gonna say, because animals, all this research has been done, they're hypersensitive to the things around us. So
yeah, well, thank you so much, and everybody out there, say your prayers. Don't go away, because I have an amazing guest coming up. Her name's Dr. Hyla Cass, and she knows so much about alternative medicine. You don't miss this, because this will help you or someone you know. I'm sure of it. If you like what you've seen on CharVision, then go to char.net and book a personal reading with me, or join a group reading, or join one of my workshops where I teach you to be psychic and intuitive. Welcome back to CharVision. I'm really excited for my next guest. Her name is Dr. Hyla Cass, and she's board certified in psychiatry and neurology, as well as integrative and holistic medicine. This is so right up my alley. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a board certified psychiatrist, as you know, but I've really expanded beyond psychiatry because guess what? The head's related to the rest of the body. So whatever's happening metabolically in your body is also happening in your brain and vice versa.
Uh-huh.
So it's the mind body and the body mind connection. And that's what I practice.
Wow. Um, okay. I mean, I totally like agree with you, and so many people are chemically imbalanced and don't know why, and sometimes I'm sure it's psychological, but sometimes it's physical, right?
Well, it's an interesting thing because I've never really distinguished between psychological and physical in that they influence each other because we know this mind over matter that when you're feeling good, when you're calm and not stressed, your body actually functions better. Things actually work better. By the same token, if you're nutritionally deficient, if you have some physical thing going on that affects the brain, hypoglycemia, lack of B vitamins, heavy metal toxicity, your brain isn't going to work properly. So it's very mutual.
How do you diagnose people? Like if somebody comes in and they can't sleep, do you use do you mix Eastern and Western medicine? Do you like take blood tests? What do you do?
Well, first of all, I take a really good history and find out what is likely to be the cause. For example, in perimenopausal women, insomnia is usually a hormone imbalance.
Just so you know, Elisa just went like, she's gonna kill me.
Well, this
Go
is
on.
really common. These are the women I see. And you have insomnia, it's because your hormones are doing what they're doing at that stage of life. And it will require a little adjusting of hormones. And that doesn't necessarily mean taking hormones, although progesterone has been a very good solution here, but also being able to detox, to have your, when I say detox, I mean eating cleanly, um, don't tax your liver too much with toxic foods, toxic chemicals, toxic
Do you
water.
do the bioidentical stuff that Suzanne Summer does or takes?
Yes,
Is it the exact same thing?
exact same thing.
It is.
Bioidentical is bioidentical. There's the chemical, for example, progestin is methoxyprogesterone. It's poison. I shouldn't say poison because it's used as a prescription. I shouldn't say that. But if you have a fetus and if you're pregnant, the fetus can be very adversely affected if the mom takes progestin, where if the mom is given progesterone, natural, bioidentical progesterone, the baby flourishes. The baby loves it. This is what the baby is bathed in the whole time it's in utero. And I've discussed this at great length in my 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health book, because I know we can't really cover all of it in one session here.
You know, I take natural progesterone, and
Mhm.
and it's made up at a compound pharmacy because some of it is like liquid. So I didn't like the liquid stuff. The
Well, it
cream.
comes in different forms. You can have, in fact, it's one of the hormones that's actually okay to take orally, because the
Right.
oral form, this is getting a little technical, but the oral form of progesterone actually is converted into in your body into allopregnanolone, which is a natural sleep enhancer.
And
For women who can't sleep, I actually will give them progesterone pills to take at bedtime. At the same time, I'll also give them a topical progesterone cream that you can rub on. Let's say you wake up at night and you have trouble falling back to sleep. You take a little dab of progesterone cream, dab it on your face, on your neck, and guess what? You fall right back to sleep.
okay, what about now you're a psychiatrist as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you prescribe Zoloft and all those other medications if someone needs that?
Well, that's the question. Do they really need it? The truth is,
Right.
the SSRIs are fooling your body into thinking that you have more serotonin. They're called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, but they're really just changing how the serotonin is handled in the synapse and the communication between the two cells. The truth is, it's not enhancing your serotonin, and people who stay on Zoloft or any of the SSRIs for any length of time become depleted in serotonin. So it has the opposite effect.
A-
And what I do is I give a precursor, something
Uh-huh.
that makes serotonin in the body, such as 5-hydroxytryptophan or L-tryptophan with some cofactors, and that's actually going to have a better effect. So it's not a matter of, oh no, the drugs are better because they're stronger. Not at all. Very often giving the precursor, the natural precursor, you're allowing your body to do what comes naturally, and that's really the best solution.
It's like the modern mental illness is bipolar. Like, I can't
Yes.
tell you how many of my clients, I think my wife or my husband's bipolar. And so what does that mean?
That's such a good question. What does it mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a catch-all. Anybody who has mood swings is automatically A, bipolar, B, put on a whole cocktail of medications, C, those medications aren't always the best thing for the person, because what we find is you gain a lot of weight. Some of them may actually work adversely, and you're actually stuck on them for a really long time. And what's a better thing to do? And I'm not coming out anti-drug. I'm just saying,
Right.
let's do the simple stuff first.
Like
Let's
what? Tell us what the
right.
simple stuff is first, because
Somebody-
I agree with you.
Somebody has mood swings. What's going on? It could be something as simple. This isn't really simple, but yet you have to diagnose and treat it. Blood sugar swings. If
I was
somebody
just
has
thinking that hypoglycemia.
hypoglycemia, if they have a tendency, and some people have a tendency to hypoglycemia.
Mhm.
For example, the way you can tell is if when you get up suddenly, you get lightheaded. If you feel shaky and cranky and kind of miserable, if you
Maybe
haven't
too much
eaten,
caffeine.
relieved by food, or it could be too much caffeine. It could be any number of things. So you take a good history.
Right.
And by the way, when people have this low blood sugar issue, it's not a disease. It's a condition that's reflecting another imbalance. What's the imbalance? It could be that you need more chromium, that your body needs more chromium. It could be that you need more B vitamins. So these are all the things that I do as
And
a
what about the
natural
adrenals?
doctor.
You talk about the adrenals. What
I
can
do.
people take for their adrenals? Like B12 shots?
Well, that's part of it, but the adrenal glands, actually B5, pantothenic acid, is particularly good for the adrenals, but adaptogens are truly wonderful. In fact, I developed a product called Energy Balance or Energy Boost
How can people get a hold of you and find out about all this?
through my website, cassmd.com. And actually, I have a present for you.
For
and
me?
anybody who's listening, yes.
Oh my
You can
God,
go
thank
to
you. I
my
love presents.
website. You can go to my website, cassmd.com, CASSMD.com, and in the right-hand corner, there is an opt-in box that has my picture on it and a place for your name. You put in your name, you put in your email, and you will get an email that will give you a link to my free ebook called Reclaim Your Brain.
I
it's
will
gonna
will
explain all
really
this.
look forward to reading that, because I do you know Dr. David Brownstein?
I do.
Yeah, and he's my doctor.
Oh,
And
good.
Dr. Nussbaum in Michigan, because
Yeah, I
live
really
in-
like David Brownstein.
Yeah,
Very good guy.
he's
Done
proud.
a
He's
lot
going
of
to be
work
on
with
this.
Dr.
He will be on the show as well. So, but I'm thrilled. I can't wait to tell him that I met you and I've talked to you. Can I just say one more thing? Give us your website again, because I'm going to go on I'm a little ADD and I want to go on another tantrum here. in your advice.
Yes, CASS, Charlie Apple Sam, CassMD.com.
CassMD.com. You guys need to get this book. I can't wait to read it.
And it's free. And I also have other books that you can look up on my website as well in the book section.
Okay. Would you come back on again?
Sure.
Okay. Because you know what I want to talk about next time you're on? I have a theory. And I could be, crazy, but I talk to dead people for a living, so a lot of people think I am anyway. But anyway, I have a theory that some people who are schizophrenic are really possessed by a spirit. Would you ever talk about that?
Sure. I mean, we can talk about that, but it's not my specialty. That's more your area. What I find is that there are things going on. And this is where I come in.
Okay.
That if you're physically not working on all cylinders, for example, you're low. For example, people who are low in magnesium, which is one of the electrolytes, one of the very important electrolytes, or low in potassium, actually have what look like leaky boundaries. And these people have trouble distinguishing between the different realms. Like with you, when you're channeling, you
Yeah.
know you're channeling.
Right.
You don't have any confusion that this is this reality. It's a different reality. It's not unreality. It's a different reality.
Right.
A person is schizophrenic or psychotic, they have trouble distinguishing. And that's what's so upsetting to them and to everyone else. And I remember when I was working in psych hospitals during my residency, I would tell people if they want to get out of the psych hospital, because they were not nice places to be, I'd say, just don't talk about the voices. Just be aware that they are separate from you.
Wow.
And that's part of the education. You have to educate these people.
Out of sight, out of mind.
What the different realities are. There are many realities. And the one I'm dealing with most of the time with people is this physical one. So I help get the physical body in shape. When the physical body is in shape, when I say in shape, I don't mean like working out and having good muscles. I mean, when you're working on all cylinders, all your vitamins and minerals are there, amino acids, no toxic metals, then you're functioning so much better mentally.
Tell us about your 8-week program. You have an 8-week program.
Sure. And with some schizophrenics are actually gluten sensitive. You take away the gluten, they stop being schizophrenic. Okay, 8 weeks of life and health.
Gluten and schizophrenia, yikes.
Yes, and bipolar. So keep that in mind. ADD, a lot of things, take away the gluten, maybe the dairy, but we have ways of testing. So 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health is my book, but it's also my program. And it's very cool.
And I've got so much I want to talk to you about, but tell me about your 8-week program.
My 8-week program is what it sounds like, 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health. I take you step by step through the different areas, mental, physical, your digestive system, hormones, thyroid, adrenals, things that you may not think about. But it starts with a quiz at the beginning so you can actually see what areas you may be deficient in.
I suggest that people go to this because if you're not blessed like I am to have somebody in my life who's similar to Dr. Cass, it really makes a huge difference, and then one other thing, because I need to have you back, but the weight loss, you don't say weight loss. What do you say? Controlling what?
But by the way, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I do have this program called 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health coaching program, and I'm also offering a discount, a $200 discount on it if any of your listeners want to purchase it.
Absolutely.
And they just have to go to my website right on the homepage under programs.
www.cassmd.com.
Right. So they click on programs. They're going to get to this program, the 8 Weeks program. And if they put in CharVision is the code. That's the secret code
Spell
to
it
get
right,
a $200 discount.
Okay. That's great. Do you talk about weight loss in this?
I do.
Okay, but there's something like you don't say dieting. You say what is?
Well, I don't really even talk about weight loss per se, because when you're operating properly, when your digestion is working, when your thyroid and your adrenals are working, all of these different aspects of your chemistry, your weight won't be an issue.
Do you do applied kinesiology by any chance?
I do muscle testing.
Oh, she does muscle testing.
Okay.
Kinesiology
is when you do muscle testing to see if something is strengthening or weakening you. And it's a really great shortcut. I'll do lab tests too, but sometimes people can't afford it. And also just to catch something right off the bat.
And where are you located?
I am in West LA.
Oh, you're in West LA.
I'm in Los Angeles, yes.
Oh my God, you're going to have a stalker. Her name's Char. Anyway, I really appreciate you being here. I would love for you to come back if you can find the time. And everybody out there, I would sign up for this. There's so much to learn, and you do it in an 8-week course. So each individual will be able to find what they need to pinpoint on in their lives and in their body and their mind. I think it would be really wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Cass. I appreciate this so much, and thank everybody for being here.
Thank you. Take care and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week on CharVision.